What's good? What's good? This is your boy Josh Jones, ESQ, also known as the Dope Black Lawyer, and we are here again for another episode of Law and Hip Hop, the number one place where you can come each week to get legal news and advice that impacts the culture from a dope black lawyer. So, if you've never been here before, as always, we want to say welcome to those of you who've been here. Welcome back. Right now, just drop a little note in the chat. Let us know in the comments if you're here watching live or if you're watching the replay, and let us know where you're watching from. So, as always, I'm live from the 305 Miami-Dade County, and we're about to get into it. So, we want to make sure that people get the information that they need, the information that they can use, and to further themselves with regard to legal. I don't want anybody relying on Google, relying on what their mama told them or what their auntie said, because 9 times out of 10 is probably not true or not the right advice for you. So with that being said, let's get into it. YFN Lucci was presented with a plea deal from the prosecutor in Fulton County. They offered him a plea of 20 years, and YFN turned it down. His lawyer said it was ridiculous, and this all stems from a racketeering case, 105 count indictment involving him and some of the other people who are supposedly in his gang. It's been 2 years already since he was locked up in jail. He's waiting on trial, and his lawyers say they're ready. So you never know. The defense sometimes, the prosecution might be just trying to stall him out, make him want to, get it over with, or they're still looking for evidence or whatever the case. But for whatever reason, they haven't taken this case to trial. He's saying he's ready, and he's just sitting there. There was also another murder case that they ended up not bringing against him, saying he was a driver for another case involving a murder. They never brought those charges. So maybe YFN is Lucci is Teflon. They can't build a case against him. We don't know, but so far he's holding strong. A 20-year plea deal is not that enticing. I gotta be honest. If they offer you 20, some people might say I'll ride it out. They know they did it, but if you really believing that you can either beat the charges or you're truly not guilty, 20 years is a long time to take just to, get the case over with. Also in ATL, one of the YSL defendants. So we've been talking a little bit about the Young Thug YSL Rico case that's been, in jury selection for the longest. But one of the co-defendants and a Fulton County deputy have been communicating, and the deputy was arrested. A female deputy was arrested for violation of the oath of office, reckless conduct, conspiracy to commit a felony, and hindering apprehension of punishment of a crime per the jail records. She was communicating with Christian Eppinger, one of the co-defendants, as I mentioned, on numerous occasions. The Eppinger was on his lawyer's computer, and he was on Instagram communicating with an account. It was later found out that the account belonged to the deputy, and now his account and her account both have been deleted, but now she's probably going to be facing some time as well for getting in the middle of this case, getting involved with this potential felon. We'll see what's going to happen with him. So I don't know. Young Dolph also, one of the people involved in his killing, pled guilty. So a gentleman, Jamarcus Johnson, he pled guilty to accessory after the fact. If you don't know, Young Dolph was a Memphis rapper who a lot of people felt like was doing positive things in his community, and had some old beefs and different things going on. He was killed while buying cookies in a cookie shop while visiting Memphis. So Jamarcus Johnson confessed to helping the 2 alleged shooters, helping them to communicate via phone and set up different things to try to cover up what happened. He's facing 6 to 12 years just for being basically one of the one of the alleged shooters is his brother, and he's basically trying to help out the next man who was committing the crime, and now he's going to end up doing some time as well. But he ended up agreeing to participate with the prosecution's case. He's willing to testify against the two shooters, and for that, they're giving him a sentence of 6 to 12 years. They dropped the charge for conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, which sounds like it was probably the right decision for him. Moving on, we have a young man who was discriminated against by his principal in Louisiana. The principal was associating this young student with being a gang member due to his cornrow hairstyle. So the school, Louisiana Calvary Baptist, student was criticized by the staff for wearing cornrows. The principal, Angela Mesman, and some of the staff voiced concern. Even though his hair didn't violate the school's code of conduct, it was neat and styled, which the rules required. And they said that braids signified a gangster. So the young man's parents met with the principal to get clarity, and they actually recorded the conversation. And, quote, "I have seen children grow up in this school, and I've seen them change, so I was just checking to see where we are. I just want to see his heart. Our culture is changing. Little boys used to have regular little haircuts," is what the principal said. "I'm seeing a lot of young people listening to a lot of rappers pushing for drugs and doing things opposite of Christ." So, she took it upon herself to try to, connect this young man to gang life when, he's attending a Christian school, looks like a very respectable young man. And, because it's a private school, she's not in violation of an act which prevents discrimination due to hair in Louisiana that went into effect last year. But she definitely is discriminating against this young man and prejudging him for just how he looks. It's one of the dangerous things about sending our kids to school to be educated by people who already don't think the best about us and have these preconceived notions about us. I was standing in the stairwells earlier today sending a text message. A woman saw me, and just off seeing me, she screamed and ran up the stairs. I didn't do anything to her, but that's just the way when people see you a certain way, no matter what you may or may not be in life, they don't know that and they don't see that. So, I'm all for black kids going to schools with black educators, black administrators, whether that's public, whether that's private, whether that's charter. I think that's probably the direction that we are headed in with all of the things that we see in school and them wanting teachers to carry guns and all of this foolish stuff that we have going on out here. So, hopefully that young man is not traumatized and he's able to have a good school year and succeed despite the opposition that's in his face. Not too far from Louisiana, in Oklahoma, legislator Regina Goodwin, she was booed by her white male colleagues while on the House floor because she was advocating for black-owned business. So just to give you a little bit of what's going on, there's a Senate bill that would somewhat broaden the eligibility for the Oklahoma Supplier Diversity Initiative to help black-owned businesses to get more opportunities. And she was concerned that the things they were adding were going to make it so that the initiative that was to help black businesses would actually end up doing the opposite and start favoring like white women and other groups of people. And she ended up being booed by the other members of the House. So she says that white males already got the majority of the jobs in the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Act, another law, and that's when the boos started. So let's see if we can play a little bit of what's going on here. Let's see. Pulling it up for you. So I'm gonna. Okay. Hold on for just 1 second while I figure out what's going on. All right.
Notice that you've just changed, you've gone from woman to women, but would you agree that as you talk about diversity, that as it relates to white males, that they already get a great majority of the jobs that we have in the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Act? Is this trying to level the playing field, and for all the white males that are booing, would you agree that they have already enjoyed a great privilege in America as it relates to job contracts?
Thank you for that question. It really doesn't have much to do with this bill. This is just letting some small businesses that are getting started in Oklahoma have a shot at state contracts.
So it's a little bit hard to hear the booing, but as we know, the man was very dismissive of this black woman, this queen, who went to the state legislature. She was elected by the people, and she actually was advocating for the people, when a lot of the time you'll see people just sitting up there being quiet and just letting stuff happen. But, you know, there's always somebody trying to figure out a way to circumvent the rules and to still, you know, benefit from things that they should not benefit for. And she was there and standing in the gap to make sure that didn't happen. So she was interviewed by Roland, and we'll listen to a little bit of what they were talking about. Let's.
Okay. Quite interesting. Again, when we talk about
Ignore Roland's shirt. He's a member of a fraternity that is a little bit beneath the Omega Psi Phi fraternity, but it's still cool.
Trying to advance the interests of African Americans. Is amazing how folk get a little concerned, but we also know the greatest beneficiaries of most MWBE programs have been white women. That's that W in MWBE. No, it ain't women. It's actually white women. So it actually should be WW. Joining us right now is Regina Goodwin. She's Oklahoma representative. She joins us right now. Glad to have you here, Representative Goodwin. So you're having you're asking this question, and how many folks would you say were actually booing your remarks? So they were not particularly happy.
Well, you know, you never can tell because they're always behind me. So I couldn't tell you how many, but a good number of the Republicans for sure, white male Republicans, were booing. And thank you for having me also, Roland.
See, so here's what's interesting. So what they were saying is, look, we ain't trying to hear what you got to say about no black businesses.
Well, what's funny is they're taking a law that's been in place for a while, okay? And it has to do with diversity and supplier diversity. So what they're doing is they're taking a law that already exists, and they were trying to carve out a space for white folks. That's what this is about. And when I saw that they were adding themselves to this bill, when it talks about diversity, they're talking about black folks, Hispanic folks, Native Americans, and certainly white women have been a part of that mix for a long time. that in itself is problematic in many respects. The bottom line is this was a white male trying to carve out a space for white males. And he wanted to do it under science, technology, engineering, and math program. And he had no provisions for minorities or disadvantaged business enterprises. So
there you have it. She's calling them out, calling them to the mat, and standing up there to make sure that the diversity bill remains diverse. And inviting white men to be a part of a diversity bill in itself is the anti-definition of diversity. So kudos to Representative Goodwin for what she's doing in Oklahoma, and all the other black legislators around the country who are doing similar things. I want to move on now to the next story where thank God for cameras, but a brother was in the airport. He left his bag, and we're going to show you how he was treated as well by the police regarding his own bag. So let's see.
And for those of you going to Sacramento, we are currently boarding first class, 7 medallions, comfort plus, sky priority, and main cabin 1.
I did not. I went right there. I seen him. I was right there. I seen him. So what the fuck is the problem? What the fuck is the problem? You're going to be under arrest.
He's going to be under arrest. I promise you, everybody don't get treated like this in the airport.
Main cabin 2 is welcome to board. Main cabin 2 going to Sacramento. Your gate F9. Main cabin 2.
Oh, I don't know. Get my drink going. It's Deshaun, yeah.
Won't even say your name right. Disrespectful.
Bro, this is my bag though. No. That's what I'm saying. It's mine, bro. Just one right there. Oh, that don't make no sense, bro. It's mine. It's mine. I did not. I was right there. Yes, it is. It was over there.
I know.
It was a family.
He was sitting by it much earlier. I saw him.
Okay. You want to see my plane ticket? You want to see my ticket?
I saw him with that bag earlier.
Okay, cool. All right. Why don't y'all run the cameras? Y'all got cameras. Yeah, I just don't have time to because we have another incident going on.
You don't have time to do his job. So thank God good white people exist, because if that nice white lady wouldn't have been there, that dude was not getting his bag. He might have got arrested. This is in the same city where the police killed George Floyd by, choking him out for a period of time, series of minutes, and they still haven't learned. So he didn't care to respect the man by calling him by his name. And everybody, I'm sure, black, has a story to tell where they interacted with the police, and it was something kind of like that, whether it was them, somebody they were with, one of their cousins, uncles, mother, father, whoever. And it's so normal that we just kind of just like suck it up, but it actually is also very traumatizing at the very same time. So, I mean, I hate to see that. I hope that this is, the fact that this ended up getting 6 million views just on this one Twitter page. The cop is disciplined in some kind of way. He wasn't trying to hear nothing this guy was trying to say. He came off like somebody who was lame in high school, probably got picked on, and became a cop just so that he could do stuff like this. But there was absolutely no reason for him to not believe the guy. The guy was like, "Can I show you my ID? Can I do this? Can I show you my ticket?" He wasn't trying to hear any of that. He's like, "Nah." But then when the lady came over, he reluctantly realized that, people were around. He didn't want to watch the video. All he wanted to do, he want to arrest first. So I'm going to arrest you first, and then eventually we're going to have to watch the video, but we're going to make sure that you miss your flight, get arrested, have to go through all the BS before, the right thing happens. So, you know what I'm saying? Luckily, we got people who are patrolling the police. Shout out to whoever that lady was. The person who recorded this was the one who actually showed up and stood up for the black man, Deshaun, whatever. I didn't catch his last name, but in the comments you hear people talking about he shouldn't have left his bag unattended, this and that. But at the end of the day, everybody don't get treated like that. So let's treat everybody the same. And then we could say, oh yeah, well, you shouldn't leave your bags because that's the rule in the airport. Well, guess what? Even if he didn't leave his bag, the police officer still probably would have harassed him about something else, because that's what police officers like him do. They find a reason to mess with you, hope that you react in a way so that they could later on arrest you. So, I just want to say F you to that officer. Salute to that lady who stood up. Another story involving police not really doing what they should have done out in Colorado. A woman received a desperate text from her husband. Her husband sent her a text that he had been kidnapped and was taken hostage. She called 911. The police did not respond until like an hour or so later. And by this time, the man had been shot and killed by the person who kidnapped him, and that person ended up killing themselves as well. She spoke to several dispatchers. They said they'd get out there. There was no urgency. So then she went out there herself. She had the location. Her husband was able to even share his location. She's giving him all this information, and they're still not, treating it like it's a serious situation. So she goes out there, and by the time she got there, she saw the unfortunate that her husband was bleeding in the car, and the man who kidnapped him was unconscious with the gun in his lap. She tried to perform CPR as the first person to arrive, and then the police spokesperson said that he couldn't comment because there was an open and active criminal investigation into the deaths when asked by the media about what happened. I mean, it's just crazy. I don't know how well you can see it, but there's the text messages. He sent them a picture. He sent a picture of the person who kidnapped him, shared his location, and his black life wasn't worth enough for the police to try to find out where he was at to try to save his life out in, I think it was Colorado Springs, but it's somewhere in Colorado, El Paso County. I'm not sure what city that is, El Paso County. Let's see. So, yes, Colorado Springs is like the main city for El Paso County. So, it's crazy. The man was kidnapped, and the police still don't want to do their jobs to try to help black people, but they'll do the job of harassing black people, which is actually not the job, all day long, 24/7. So I hate that we have to even talk about that, but luckily, again, video and technology has come to play where we can kind of track this stuff, and we can figure out, what needs to happen so we could start preventing these things from happening, where maybe we really do need to be patrolling the police and doing things like that for ourselves. So back to my crazy state. In Florida, 6 students at Florida A&M, also FAMU, if you don't know it, it's Florida A&M, HBCU, the only public HBCU in the state, filed a class action lawsuit citing that there is a funding gap. So a judge in Florida is allowing the suit to move forward, accusing the state of discriminating against FAMU while prioritizing the University of Florida. So the students claim that the University of Florida receives a larger state appropriation per student than FAMU. So the complaint is also going into saying that for 33 years, from 1987 to 2020, the shortfall amounted to about $1.3 billion, which is wild because both schools are public land-grant colleges in the state of Florida. There are only 2, so that disproportionate number, that's the amount of the disproportion. So if FAMU was getting, if University of Florida was getting $1,000 and FAMU was getting $500 per, they calculated the $500 difference and came up with a $1.3 billion difference because University of Florida is a bigger school, so proportionally you have to kind of do the math to figure that out. So a Forbes study showed FAMU receives about $2,600 less than the Florida University of Florida. They also accused the state of allowing FSU to copy the programs at FAMU, making it more difficult for FAMU to get enrollment. So FAMU and FSU are like, you could throw a rock and hit one from the other. They're like a couple miles apart from each other. So having duplicate programs would, affect the enrollment at FAMU. If people had to go to FAMU and because they couldn't go to FSU, it's arguable that those students would have attended FAMU instead. So all of the normal players are named in the lawsuit. Governor Ron DeSantis being the one that we talk about on here all the time. So the judge says that the attorneys will have to show evidence of the discrimination being linked to segregation, raising questions about the case. So we'll continue to follow that. That's a wild story. Always supporting HBCUs. I got my CAU, Clark Atlanta University hat on. Shout out to all the Panthers out there. Shout out to all the Rattlers as well, and whatever other HBCU alumni we have on here, or supporters, or whatever the case. So we will continue to follow that and what the Florida new fashion. We got this crazy story about this 20-year-old kid. Seemed like it's got to be for clout. Social media is a dangerous drug. We talked about the kid a few weeks ago who was at his high school graduation celebration in the Bahamas, and he just jumped off a boat at night because his friends dared him to for social media, who they presumed to be dead. They stopped looking for him. But now we got this kid, 20-year-old Jacob Persifield, who illegally hopped a fence at Busch Gardens in Tampa to get into an alligator enclosure and record a video for social media. So they say that people were yelling for him to get out. The post on social media helped the police to track him and arrest him. In the clip, he's on there just wilding out, saying stuff like another wild Karen, crikey, like he think he's the, what's Irwin's name? Steve Irwin, crocodile hunter. He's arrested on the charge of theft of services, trespassing, burglary of an occupied structure, and he was released on $8,500 bond. So what the Florida was you thinking, bruh? I mean, he had me at, he got into an alligator enclosure on purpose. So these are wild times. These are wild things. It's hard to even imagine doing something that dumb. But again, people will do anything for clout. People will do anything for social media. Like, what were you going to get from social media for this dumb ass exploit? I mean, man. So another week, another show. We made it to the end of Law and Hip Hop. There's a lot more stories that we could have talked about, and we will talk about them. We're here every Thursday at 3, so put it in your phone, subscribe, check the bell for notifications. Reach out to us. Let us know what kind of stories you want to hear. Let us know if you have any questions. If you have any legal issues or anything, send us an email to holla@dopebblacklawyer.com. Send us a video message on speakpipe.com/dopebblacklawyer. Let us know what kind of content you want to cover. Right now, the YNW Melly trial is going on, so it seems to be a little wild. So we'll probably talk about that a little bit next week. The double murder trial, he's facing the death penalty as a potential sentence. So we will talk about that and more next week. So I appreciate you coming and spending some time with us. If there's anything that you need, holla at a Dope Black Lawyer.